The tropics are an area of the Earth surrounding the equator. Covering 36% of the planet's landmass, this region receives the most sunlight year-round, making it an ideal home for a vast array of wildlife. The biodiversity of the tropics is second to none, like in the Caribbean, where one island local has become an expert at getting around by both land and sea.
A chain of 7,000 Caribbean islands lies between the North and South American continents. Volcanic islands and reefs dot the crystal blue waters of the Caribbean Sea. They range in size and scope, each with its own animals and plants. But why limit yourself to just one island? This land animal found a clever way to island hop. Trees and bushes get uprooted during major hurricanes when they blow through the islands. The Lesser Antillean iguanas are particularly good at hitching a ride on the passing debris. These lizards have now colonized much of the eastern Caribbean islands. On the island of Dominica, 10,000 iguanas occupy forests close to the shorelines. The reptiles live by a colorful order. The bright green iguanas are either young or female. As they get older, they lose their green sheen, but gain greater respect from their fellow lizards. The seniors are dark gray with pale blue scales on the sides of their heads. They can oversee as many as 7 potential families at a time. April is nesting season. The older males will defend their multiple homes from invaders. An aggressive show of head bobbing tells any challengers that they're not welcome. Just keep moving. The females dig a good-sized nest that can hold as many as 18 eggs. Once they are nestled in there, her work is done. She allows the Caribbean sun to keep these eggs warm. The eggs are hidden 3 feet under the sand, yet hungry passers-by still try to dig them up. These are the ground lizards, who are native to the island of Dominica. They are known by the locals as abolo. Scavengers by nature, the ground lizards try to steal eggs from an unsuspecting iguana. Luckily, these eggs are ready to hatch. Bright green lizards swarm out of the nests, ready to face the wilder side of Dominica. This island is the wettest Caribbean island. It receives an amazing 300 inches of rain every year. That's 25 feet of water. Fresh rainwater flows down the island's countless waterfalls, from high in the mountains to the Caribbean Sea below. That rainwater carries critical nutrients for the animals and plants. Look closely and you'll see the water bubbling below. That's where an active volcano simmers through cracks underwater in the ocean floor. All of these factors play a key part in the formation of the Caribbean's incredible coral reefs. The reefs are living and breathing organisms called polyps, a network of billions of tiny animals. Many of the reef's fishes and organisms are only found here in the turquoise blue waters of the Caribbean. The reef's rich ecosystems shelter more than 800 different varieties of brightly painted fish. Not to mention other creatures lurking around. A maze of unique and abundant wildlife that thrives on these volcanic islands. Coming up, we continue our tropical trek to the Galapagos, where the local sea lions know how to have a roaring good time. And later, discover why this unique wetland is a vital part of its neighbors' survival. Then, in Zanzibar, we'll see a colossal crustacean that rules the crab community. All of this and more when we return to Earth Odyssey.
We'll be right back to The More You Know on NBC. We now return to The More You Know on NBC.
One of Earth's most iconic tropical archipelagos is known more for its unique ecosystem than anything else. It's thought that this Galapagos settler was once just a California dreamer. Scientists say ancestors of the sea lion left their North American home and swam nearly 3,000 miles here to Isabella Island. Galapagos sea lions are smaller than their American cousins, 10 feet long and weighing in at more than 500 pounds. This one is no pushover. Sea lions are the largest mammals on these islands, and probably one of the first animals that Darwin saw sunbathing on the rock. Comfortable on land and in the sea, these creatures have hind flippers that help them navigate the slippery rocks. Newborn pups are put in a nursery about a week after birth. One female is in charge of the whole lot. The other females go on trips looking for food. Those trips can last for several days. Meanwhile, the pups learn to socialize and play together. When the mothers return, they call out for their young pups. When the pups grow older, they'll learn to do the same, calling for their mothers. The males stay out of the way when it comes to pup rearing. Usually, there's one bull sea lion called a beachmaster. He watches over a group of females and their pups. But he's challenged by other bulls, and often the turnover is fast. This beachmaster will probably stay in charge for a few days before giving up. The longest anyone keeps the job is about 3 months. Exhausted from constantly patrolling, the sea lions take a collective nap on the shores. A visitor comes by to check in on them. This lava lizard feeds on the flies that irritate the sea lions, jumping on their enormous backs to catch the buzzing insects. It's better than a fly swatter, as long as they don't end up poking you in the eye. Coming up, a tropical terrain that's as diverse as the wildlife that calls it home. Plus, the food that makes the coconut crab of Zanzibar go nuts. All of this and more when we return to Earth Odyssey.
We'll be right back to The More You Know on NBC. We now return to The More You Know on NBC.
Every year in the tropics is defined by two stark opposites, the wet season and the dry season. Rain is a key driving force for all life. The arid deserts of North Africa see less than 5 inches of rain per year. But our next location is home to the largest wetland on Earth. And it's more than just abundant water that makes this place a wonderland.
The Pantanal. Once extremely dry, it has been transformed into a water world once more. Its swollen rivers funnel south, joining the Paraguay River, then merge with the Paraná, the second longest river in South America. Together, they drain a fifth of the entire continent. One of the tributaries passes through Iguazu Falls. The mightiest waterfalls in the Americas. Shaped like a giant horseshoe, there are a series of 275 falls, dropping 260 feet into a narrow chasm. Nearly 2 miles across, the Iguazu Falls are wider than the Victoria Falls and dwarf Niagara. In the wet season, up to 3 million gallons flow over the edge every second, 18,000 Olympic swimming pools every hour. Black vultures gather. They know that anything swept over the edge will be dashed on the rocks below. An easy meal on tap. Huge flocks of great dusky swifts swirl through the mist. They've come to breed. But they have a problem. The lush forests that cloak the falls are full of thieves. Toucans, specialist nest raiders. And coatis. They'll eat anything they can find, but eggs are a particularly valuable prize. Bands patrol every level of the forest. The swifts have come up with an extraordinary solution. As dusk arrives, they fly ever closer to the falls, looking for a chance to penetrate the thundering curtain of water. Then, one by one, they swoop through. Once they've made it to the slippery cliff face, their long claws enable them to cling on. Then they clamber towards their nests, and precious eggs are safely deposited out of danger's reach. When we return, why this night stalker tops the list of creepiest crawlers in the African tropics.
Find out when Earth Odyssey returns.
We'll be right back to The More You Know on NBC. We now return to The More You Know on NBC.
As night draws in on the islands of Zanzibar, the world's biggest creepy crawly reveals itself. Weighing in over 8.5 pounds, with a leg span up to 3 feet, the coconut crab is the planet's largest land-living invertebrate. It's actually a giant hermit crab. While it's young, it carries another creature's abandoned shell on its back for protection. But once fully grown, it develops a tough outer skin. This crab stays hidden during the day to reduce water loss from heat, but at night, this solitary stalker heads off in search of its favorite food. Unlike most of its relatives, the coconut crab can't survive in water. It would drown if submerged. Its gills have evolved to work like lungs, although they need to be kept moist in order to function. Its antennae have also evolved, enabling it to pick up airborne scents the same way insects do. This forest forager, along with others, is onto something. Also known as the robber crab or palm thief, coconut crabs are great climbers. They can't cut down coconuts by themselves. However, fallen fruits are quickly seized upon. Although the surrounding sea is a no-go zone for these land-based giants, it wasn't always that way. They started life in the water. A female coconut crab makes her way to the shore. She's been carrying a batch of eggs glued to her abdomen for 2 months. At high tide, they're ready to be released. On contact with water, the eggs hatch immediately. The juvenile giants eventually make their way ashore, where they live a hermit's life before becoming permanent dry land residents.
Thank you all so much for joining us on our trek to the tropical terrains of the planet. From the islands of the Caribbean to the coast of Africa, these regions span the globe and host an array of unbelievable wildlife. We'll see you next time for another Earth Odyssey.
When you see this symbol, you know you're watching television that's educational and informational. The More You Know on NBC.
Hello, I'm Chanel Jones. Get ready to join us for an adventure around the world to see some of the wildest and most adorable baby animals on the planet. This is Wild Child. Today, we scour the earth to find the most iconic animals and the furry friends living alongside them. We'll hitch a ride with this growing group of gorillas. And later, we'll take a tour of the jungle with an animal guide that always remembers the way. Plus, sit down at a table for 2 of Asia's legendary bamboo-loving bears. But first, why is this big cat such a big fan of the water? Find out that and more with us today on Wild Child. Across the world, there are certain species that have captured our imagination and attention like no others. From famous felines of the African jungle to the most cuddly canines that make it on the big screen. These iconic animals are the stars of the Animal Kingdom show. Today, we're getting up close and personal with these notorious newborns, starting in one of the most diverse regions on Earth. Take a look. Afternoons can get hectic for animals of all ages. How do you remedy this recipe for repugnance? Just add water. The national animal of India, the Bengal tiger, is always happy to take a refreshing, if not cleansing, dip. Unlike many house cats, tigers love the water and are strong swimmers, able to paddle across wide rivers when in pursuit of a meal. But why just paddle when you can sit in a pleasant puddle? While they look tough, Indian rhinos still enjoy a good spa day to escape the heat, and a cooling mud bath does the trick. Nothing to muddle in this mud. That is one chilled out baby. Meanwhile, in Sri Lanka, a water buffalo calf is living up to its name by dunking its hooves in the refreshing water. A pedicure always does the trick. Speaking of self-care, Japan's snow monkeys make bath time look like absolute bliss. Lounging around in their naturally steamy pools that can get up to a toasty 90 degrees. Living further north than any other non-human primate, they know how to deal with snow days. In fact, their neighborhood can be covered in a frosty blanket for up to 4 months a year. Nothing like a warm cuddle to make bath time even better. What a lucky baby. This afternoon, there is a chance to get a longer look at a big baby by tagging along with this special guy, an Indian rhino. He's just a week old. This perky calf is the 33rd baby rhino born at this zoo, which has a long-running breeding program for this vulnerable species. As babies go, this is a hefty little guy, tipping the scales at over 130 pounds. Even so, he's still dwarfed by his mother. Eventually, this little lad will grow up to weigh over 2 tons. At the moment, he is fueled purely by milk, but will start to nibble on grass by the time he's 3 months old. Being a mother is tiring, so she's decided to take a load off. Now that they're still, you can get a close look at their natural armor. Thick, durable, and flexible plates cover their bodies. To cap off their rugged looks, Indian rhinos have a single horn made of keratin, the same substance hair and fingernails are made from. There's no sign of the baby's horn yet, but it won't be long before a small nub begins to grow. This young man has a tremendous job ahead of him, raising awareness of his relatives in the wild. A big responsibility for a little rhino. For now, perhaps it's best to sleep on it. Coming up, we stop in for a bit of bamboo with this famous fur ball. Then we get a lesson in grazing from some amazing animals. And it's time to get up and go for this great ape babe. All of that and more to come when Wild Child returns.
We'll be right back to The More You Know on NBC.
Talk.
Whisper.
Join Jimmy Fallon and Keke Palmer as they play on words.
Peacock.
A lot of ways to go with this.
Urination.
That's a way.
Password, streaming on Peacock.
We now return to The More You Know on NBC.
Welcome back to Wild Child, where we are joining a young and boisterous bear cub that's happy and even more hungry. But before settling down for a lunchtime meal, this giant panda cub has some pesky plans for her bamboo munching mama. And it's worked. She's finally ready to play. Her little tyke needs help with its tumbling skills. What a helpful mom. But soon, the bamboo is calling her back. The cub's got its own big plans. Lunch with a view. The whole gang is tucking into the midday meal, each panda with their own style. Fine dining is something giant pandas take pretty seriously, devoting about 12 hours a day to the art. While their diet is 99% bamboo, these bears were once omnivores and still have the digestive system of a carnivore. So out of the 40 pounds of food they crunch on a daily basis, only a small amount actually gets digested. A big bear needs a lot of nutrients, so bring on the bamboo. From 6 months, panda cubs start to give their family's favorite food a try. 1 stick for each paw is plenty for this beginner. Meal times can be exhausting. Once this bub's finished its last mouthful, it can nod off in this woody hammock. Its little friend has found its own sunny spot to drop off. Such bliss. After a busy autumn morning, the pandas aren't the only creatures hunting down a comfy place to nap. This baby rabbit has found a soft bed of grass. Elsewhere, this young meerkat is almost ready to doze off. Friends and family make the best pillows. So do shady patches of grass. Perfect for weary felines to take well-earned cat naps. Warm rocks aren't bad either. After a busy morning, there's nothing like a toasty siesta in the sun with family and friends. Coming up, we hightail it to Borneo to see a highly unique face. Plus, we'll hang out with these ape infants on the move.
We'll be right back to The More You Know on NBC.
It is the biggest prize in the world.
$1 million!
Why are you doing this?
Oh my God.
America's Got Talent, streaming on Peacock.
We now return to The More You Know on NBC.
Some of the most iconic animals on the planet are found in the vast, dense jungles of Southeast Asia. Its tropical climate is a breeding ground for the famous and infamous, from Asia's largest predator to the world's largest pachyderm. The richness of species is globally recognized. So let's meet them face to face as we head into the trenches of one of the most diverse regions on the planet.
With their stomachs full from breakfast, the baby animals of Southeast Asia can now get serious about exploring their neighborhoods. A baby orangutan is getting into the swing of life in the trees by simply hanging out with mom. A white-breasted water hen chick is playing follow the leader with its mother, strolling along the shoreline. Plodding through the water comes naturally to the big babies in this herd. Water buffalo have very few sweat glands, so learning to wallow is a skill the calves need to master in order to keep cool. Heading back to the forests of Borneo, there's a tree surfing class in session. The whole troop is happy to pass on their acrobatic skills to the next generation of proboscis monkeys. One of the bubs is taking the plunge with its mom. And this one's landed on its mother. Action replay. Oops. These muscly, agile primates really get some amazing hang time as they bound from tree to tree. But sitting in the landing zone isn't the best idea. Time for this baby to defy gravity solo. What a heart-pumping way to spend the morning. Time to head off the beaten track to spend part of the morning with some extra big babies. Say hello to Thailand's national animal, the Asian elephant. These larger-than-life mammals can be found exploring tropical evergreen forests and grasslands throughout many regions of Southeast Asia. Although smaller than their African relatives, Asian elephants can still reach jumbo proportions, some weighing up to 5 tons. At birth, these baby trumpeters stand 3 feet tall and weigh a hefty 200 pounds. Keeping cool is a breeze for these pachyderms. All they need to do is flap their ears. This action acts as air conditioning by sending cooler blood throughout their body. Another way they beat the heat is to give themselves a cooling mud bath. Using their muscular trunks, this herd is having a ball, slinging wet mud and dirt all over the place. This lucky calf has his own mini wallow to practice splashing around in. Its mom standing by with trunkloads of helpful tips. That is one cool baby. As calves, these guzzlers can drink up to 3 gallons a day. They aren't fully weaned until they're at least 2 years of age. Baby Asian elephants will start to pick out greens when they're 4 to 6 years old, learning what's good to eat by watching the adults.